Welcome to the JRPG Canon, the ongoing project to document the first slice of a JRPG, talk about why it works and what's fun about these games that we like so much. If you'd like a better intro as to the purpose and idea behind the series, check out the first 2 episodes on Final Fantasy Dragon Quest and then come back to this one. I'm Sam Allman, and this week is another one of our commissioned episodes, commissioned by a friend of the show, Eliza Tantivy, so I figured the best person to join me for this episode is the other Eli from the show. Welcome back, Sailor Eli.
Hi, it's me. I'm Elias Sailor Eli Warren. It feels like a million years, and it's only been like, what, a year and a half?
Something like that.
Yeah, because I think the last time I recorded was January of 2022.
Yeah.
Somewhere around, or, oh God, maybe it was 2021. Holy fuck. I don't know what time is.
Yeah.
I have ADHD. My sense of time is garbage.
It was at the beginning of this most recent quote unquote year that we finished in the podcast. So it was beginning of year 4. So probably just January of 2022. Because we've done 4 podcast years in 6 real world years. So
yeah, that's true. Man, so much has happened in that time too. Mm-hmm.
Maddie's trans, Scarlett is 6.
Yeah. I had more implosions that were final implosions.
Yeah.
But you know, the thing about implosions. But like I'm actually in a decent spot right now, and
good.
You know, fighting for my life, you know, because I'm trans. Mm-hmm. Which is great. I'm trans in the South, so that's cool.
Yeah.
You know, just you know, thriving, staying hydrated, staying in my lane, as much as I can, and
butching it up every time you go out in public.
Yeah, making myself as masculine as I possibly can, and not buying alcohol so no one has to see the F on my driver's license.
Yeah, but
yeah, I mean, it's overall things have been going decently okay.
Good. I'm glad. So, Eli, for those who maybe don't listen to the main podcast and are just listening to the JRPG Canon, tell us a little bit about yourself and how you heard about Get in the Car Loser, even though it was because about a year ago I was like, hey, you should record this episode with me.
Well, let's see. So I was a member of the main podcast for years when it first started. And oh God, what's interesting about me? Hold on. Let's see. I'm 37 years old. I'm a Gemini. Yeah. So, yeah, I was a YouTuber for a while, and we started this podcast together. And I kind of burn out on it, so I've been away doing my own thing, which is playing a lot of Final Fantasy 14. I've gotten real deep in the paint with the RP community. I run a venue in Final Fantasy 14. I do a lot of macro performances where I write macros that sync up with music. I'm an all-around nerd, though. I've become obsessed with Pokemon Violet. Like absolutely fucking obsessed. Did you ever finish that, by the way?
No, I am still pre-first gym.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I've been meaning to get back into it, but it came out within the first couple of months of being divorced, and so I just kind of stick to it. But
that's fair.
I'm figuring that Zelda will make me want to play my Switch again, and then while I'm there, I'll be like, oh hey, look at these 2 other open world fantastic RPGs that are both about Pokemon that I haven't played yet.
You didn't finish Arceus either?
No, I also don't have.
So
I know there's not gyms, but I if there were, I hadn't gotten to the first gym of that one either.
Understandable. I mean, well, I never finished Sword and Shield or Brilliant Diamond. Like, I got about halfway through both of those games and then just dropped them because I was getting disillusioned with Pokemon. And then Violet came out and I went, oh my God, this is the best Pokemon game I've ever played. Glitches aside.
Yeah. By the way, are those any better? Or is it still just completely broken?
The glitches are still like they really have not done a whole lot to fix that shit. Okay. Like if it's something that could be exploited, they fixed it immediately. But fun is not allowed.
Yeah.
Raids are still buggy as shit, and it's infuriating. I actually lost like an hour and a half worth of progress because I forgot to save before a raid, and then I got stuck because the Terra Pokemon did something and it just kind of trapped me there. And I went, okay, well, it'll kick me out when the timer runs out. And then it didn't.
Oh, great.
I had to restart my whole game and I lost like 200 eggs that I had just bred. Thankfully, breeding in that game is mostly a waiting game where you just sit around and have a picnic and occasionally click the basket. Which is pretty nice. I actually like how breeding is done in that game. I don't have to run around and then go pick up a single egg and then run around to pick up another egg. But I am looking forward to The Legend of Zelda Twink Simulator 2.
Mm-hmm.
It's looking very nice. And I mean, I was obsessed with Breath of the Wild, so Tears of the Kingdom is just like that's almost certainly going to be my game of the year.
Yeah, a lot of my friends are replaying Breath of the Wild to get ready for it, but I think that would burn me out because I can't do anything a little. I have most of the Korok seeds and every single shrine in Breath of the Wild.
I did all 120 shrines.
So if I were to replay it, I would want to do the same thing, but this time I would use the DLC and also do the post game and go and get the fucking Master Sword motorcycle or whatever. So I would definitely burn myself out on running Link around a really cool looking place and doing some physics shenanigans before the next game. So I'm playing for the first time Age of Calamity, and I still don't like Musou games, and I really wish that the combat felt a little better, but it's pretty, so
that's good.
It'll get me there.
It's got that going for it.
Yeah.
Sometimes if a game is pretty, that's all it really needs.
Yeah.
But it really like it's very dependent on just how pretty it is.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of games that are pretty, so I first heard about Get in the Car Loser through Screenshot Saturdays, which is a thing on Twitter where indie games people are like, hey, this is what I'm working on. And so I saw it a bunch of times there. I'm like, this looks fantastic. It looks like everything I need it to be. It is a Mean Girls reference. All of these people are lesbians. It is pixel art. It is an RPG. I'm all about it. But then I never actually got around to playing it.
It only came out in like 2021, didn't it?
Yeah, I think it took a while. It's
relatively new.
Yeah, it took a while to come out, and when it came out, there was some promotion where it was free, and I don't remember if it was in one of the bundles, like the racial justice bundle, or if it was in one of the humble bundles or something, but I ended up having it, and so when Eliza was like, hey, I've gotten to JRPGs late in life. I have no idea what I should do. I just sent a huge list of games that that belong on a list called the JRPG Canon, like the Dragon Quests and the Pokemons and those sorts of things, and then games that don't belong on the list, but I wanted to talk about anyways. And this was that second chunk. So I'm excited to actually play it and talk about it. So
and I'm glad that it was pointed out to you. I don't really go seeking out video games all that much. Like I poke at my Steam store, you know, the queue that I get every now and then. But like I've my motivation for a lot of games has really tanked. Not just because I'm playing a lot of Final Fantasy, but because, man, shit's fucked right now in the world. And it's really harshing my vibes. It's really fucking with my steez, you know, all those other colloquialisms that nobody uses anymore, but I'm almost 40, so fuck it. I'm just going to embrace being old. You know, so this is not one that I would have gone searching for. And then Sam told me about it and I was like, oh, this sounds fucking rad. And it turns out it is.
Yeah. It's fantastic, actually.
Yeah. It's real great. And I fully intend on finishing it at some point because I did have a thoroughly good time playing it. Even if I did not really get a good grasp on the mechanics.
Yeah, and the part where we stopped is where the mechanics started to really click for me. And so I think that once you have all 4 face buttons and you have all 4 color combinations, things are going to start clicking and making a lot more sense because it's more complete. But that's where we had stopped. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to listen to the battle theme because it's a vocal theme. Vocal themes are badass.
It's so good. The music in this game is so fucking good.
And then we'll talk about what history behind this game that I could find out because it's a pretty small indie game, and then we'll go from there.
There's something in the air, the cloud of dust that trails behind us. It's cast into a shape enough to be divine suggestion, a blessing from beyond, a plea to something deeper than ourselves. Don't you feel it ring? A calling from the spirit of the dark. Look up to the sky, the stars.
Okay, so Get in the Car Loser is the latest game by Love Conquers All Games, specifically by Christine Love, who's made a bunch of visual novels over the years. Her first work was Digital, a Love Story, which was released for free in 2010. This was a mostly linear visual novel told through the interface of a 1980s computer, complete with like BBS bulletin boards and stuff like that.
Oh, wow.
It was followed up by another visual novel called Don't Take It Personally, Babe, It Just Ain't Your Story, in which you play a teacher in the year 2027 who can read the messages from their students without their knowledge as a more traditional talking head visual novel style game. These first 2 games were released for free, but were widely praised and circulated. Everybody loved the writing and all of that stuff in it. So Love began working on a larger, more commercial game, which eventually became Analog, a Hate Story, which is a sequel to Digital, a love story set 600 years after Digital. So it's not truly a sequel as much as a related work, and it focuses on an investigator discovering the reason for an interstellar ship's disappearance. This game was a huge expansion, got a huge success, and it got an expansion called Hate Plus down the line. If you've heard of anything they've done, you've probably heard of Hate Plus, but even then, very, very small indie developer. After Hate Plus came Lady Killer in a Bind, which was an erotic visual novel about social manipulation and girls tying up over other girls. Which,
sorry, continue.
Which basically sums up the themes of all of Christine Love's work. On her website, she quotes herself as, Christine Love is a writer and game designer who makes narrative games about the only thing she knows, messy queer women. Which is
awesome.
It tracks.
Yeah.
All of her games focus on interpersonal relationships between marginalized people and the way that these people interact with the technology and the world around them, which leads really nicely into Get in the Car Loser.
Yeah.
Get in the Car Loser is an RPG with visual novel elements. a lot of visual novel elements.
It's a very on rails RPG.
Yeah, it is a little more RPG in my mind than strategy RPGs, like a classic Fire Emblem where you do like 3 hours of a visual novel and then one battle and then back to the visual novel. It's definitely more RPG than that, but not by much.
Yeah.
So it is about 3 lesbians with a secret surprise 4th lesbian later, who go on a road trip to save the realm. The development of Get in the Car Loser itself isn't as well documented as her earlier works in the places that I could casually look. And this is not an investigative discovery podcast. This is a go to Wikipedia and sum it up for the Everybody podcast. I'm sure she's probably done a Polygon interview that I could have found if I dug, but I did not dig. So, instead of trying to dig up more history, this is just going to be a talk about the games podcast. So let's talk about the game.
Yeah.
When you start the game, you're offered a difficulty choice: normal, easy, and story.
I went story mode because I can't be asked to actually play a game.
Yep. I really like that they phrase it like that. I've been seeing that a lot in like AAA games.
Yeah.
In the year since I've played Get in the Car Loser. So Get in the Car Loser did it first. But,
I will say I really, really love when games give difficulty options and there is a super easy and a super hard, because I feel like that makes it more accessible, and I think games should be accessible.
Mm-hmm. And I especially like when they like highlight that, like, hey, we worked hard on this story, and sometimes it's really cool to press a button and be rewarded with cool story stuff on the other end, and that's a totally fine way to engage with our art. We also did some really cool gameplay things, and we think it would be really cool to do that. This one has normal, easy, and story. You unlock hard mode. Normal is not hard. You probably would do fine at normal, Eli.
I actually, when I was refreshing myself on it, what I did was I went and found a YouTuber to watch, and I should give them credit. I don't know this person's pronouns, but they go by Comrade Bubbles. They only have 101 subscribers on YouTube, but they had great commentary, and they're clearly behind the message of the game, which is a big thumbs up from me. They seem really into the queer elements of the story. They're a Valentin stan, which agreed. I'm way into Valentin. I'm way into Sam and Grace too. I love all of them. They're great. But just wanted to give them a shout out. I know the podcast is also, we don't have like a huge audience, but it's nice to give credit where it's due. So Comrade Bubbles, you are my comrade as well.
But and I think you can unlock hard because there's a lot of like interesting, which we'll get into as they come up, but there's a lot of like interesting gameplay choices to be making along the way.
That was what I was going to say. They played on normal mode, and it did not look significantly harder than what I did. Yeah.
And it's not super hard, but like maybe you could die in a boss fight type thing, but not nearly as perilous as some things were. So I think there probably is a hard mode or something once you unlock it, but I don't know. I haven't beaten it yet. But, so the game recommends to start playing on normal, so that's what I picked. The game starts with this girl named Sam, no relation. I actually couldn't remember because it wasn't in my notes from last year that I was punching up for tonight. I had to ask Eli. I'm like, is the character's name Sam, or did I name them and just not mention it in the in the notes?
Nope. She is named Sam.
Cool. So, she's getting accosted by some white man for dressing like a slut, and doing so is going to cause the machine devil to come back. Then a non-binary person in a cool-ass car drives up to save Sam from this, quote, healthy debate that that he's offering. He makes a trigger joke, so the car person, it's Valentine that I mentioned earlier, punches the shit out of him, tells him to stop harassing women. We get in the car and go.
Yeah, I will say this game is not subtle about its symbolism, and I'm fine with that. I think it's handled very well.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel ham-fisted. It doesn't feel forced.
No. So turns out that that this person who saved us is our friend's partner. Our friend's name is Grace. The partner's name is Valentin. Who it's not voice acted, so however it's pronounced. And they were here to meet us and Grace to take us on a road trip. At that point, Grace shows up and is like, hey, the Divine Order is chasing after me. No time to explain. Get in the car, loser. So we get in the car.
Yep.
She says that she knows that we don't have anything going on today, and she's got this sort of fate and needs to seal away an ancient evil. So we're going to come with her. And we're like, all right. And we hit the road.
Great. Let's do it.
As we dash off, a pink person in armor shows up and chases after us. That is someone from the Divine Order. I don't remember now. Again, it was a year ago. I don't remember if it turns out to be Angela or just one of her people.
No, I think it's just random angel number 47 or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really weird playing this like a literal calendar year ago, writing all of the notes for it. As an aside, we were going to record this on the Monday night in which I got divorced. So
it didn't quite work out.
Yeah, things got crazy. And I was like, oh, I need to decide like what the next JRPG Canon will be, because I've now recorded like 5 of them since then. I'm like, oh yeah, I already have one done. Let me just refresh and talk with Eli, and then we'll get it recorded.
It worked out pretty well.
Yeah.
Especially because like I had recently come to Sam and been like, I'm feeling weirdly nostalgic. Where is the special episode where I had my send off, because I want to listen to it and feel feelings. And it turns out that it had been made the like promo episode, so it wasn't in the list. And I was like, it's gone.
Yeah.
Because I didn't see it at the top because I'm blind.
Yeah. But yeah, so we get a title card that says Act 1, Highway 211, and Grace fills us in on the plot of this story. It's been roughly 1,000 years since the Machine Devil has been sealed away, and now he's reemerging, and the Divine Order angels are burning crops and shit to summon the Machine Devil's lackeys. So everything kind of sucks, and the angels are bad too.
Yeah, I wrote ACAB. All cherubs are bad.
Yes.
Like they're. It's not just that they're doing that, but they're also like completely indifferent to the plight of humanity.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're like, oh, we gotta like seal away the Machine Devil again, so let's like call him out, make him come out, and then we can have our big fight, and then things can go back to normal.
It's a fated cycle, and it's just it has to happen, and you know you can't stop it. There's no interfering with it, so just let it happen.
Yeah. Speaking of the Machine Devil's lackeys, there's one right in front of us, so let's fight it.
Oh fuck.
The battles in this game are a cross between Valkyrie Profile and Final Fantasy 13. Two games I haven't covered on this yet. We have covered
two games I haven't played.
we have covered Final Fantasy 13 over on Longcast, so you can go to that one. Valkyrie Profile, were spoilers covering this year probably.
Oh, nice.
So in about a year, this will make a lot of sense to you casual listeners. But in Valkyrie Profile, you assign a party member to a face button, and in Final Fantasy 13, you build up a stagger meter to stagger your enemies to be able to do huge damage to them. So this game is both of those with their own unique things, where if you do your full combo of all your face buttons, you can then go into like a higher level combo, and so you can like trade in your ATB bars to like go into higher things and whatever. And when you get all the way through, Grace has a super special move that brings your stuff all the way down. And so the push and pull, give and take is like, oh, my healing spell is only a level 1 and this guy's hitting me really hard. So do I stay here on level 1, or do I push up to level 2 where I can deal more damage, but I don't have the heal to protect me? Or if I burn all the way through, I won't be able to stagger them yet. So Grace's thing won't hurt as bad. So maybe I'll hang out on level 2 for a little longer so I can then go finish level 3 and then do the big special move, etc. So it's, you can just mash through it, but also,
which I did,
but you also, there's also interesting choices to be made if you want to min max, which as I'll bring up later in my conclusion is kind of how this whole game is, which is kind of really cool. So after you kill the monster in front of us, the characters introduce you to the main decision making you get to make during the game. Like in a Dragon Quest, your choice is, do I push farther, or do I go back and heal? And here it is, which lane of the highway do I drive in, because a fight is coming up in 12 steps in lane 1, but in only 5 steps in lane 2. So if I go to lane 1, I can get past the one in lane 2 and then go around it to like avoid these fights if you're low on health or fuel or whatever. And you just got to find a rest stop. And it's surprisingly cool. And
yeah, I was surprised by how engaging that was, because I mean it's essentially like a glorified hallway simulator, but I mean I felt like I was engaged with something to do instead of just waiting there for a fight to come up.
And it tells you how many kilometers away the fight will be, and each visual novel text box that you're reading the whole time is 1 kilometer. And so if you're like a meta game thing of it is, if you're really into the story and the talking and the back and forth, you don't want to interrupt that with a fight. So maybe you'll pick one that's farther away so that you can finish your thought or whatever. And it's pretty cool. Eventually you make it to a rest stop where you have a more traditional like top-down RPG vibe sort of thing, and you can go around, explore, talk to NPCs, get some extra lore. You can refuel your car. You can pick up new trinkets, which are the equipment of the game, and you can save your game and fully heal up your party. The trinkets are really cool. Each character can equip 3 of them, which equate to 3 moves you can take in battle. But so in Final Fantasy IX and Final Fantasy Tactics Advance, if I want to learn fire, I will equip my wizard with a fire rod, and then he will learn fire, and then I can give him an ice rod. He will keep fire because he learned it all the way, and then he can start learning ice. This is kind of the opposite of that, where instead of everybody has specific things that and the moves are tied to the trinkets, the moves are tied to the person, but the trinket will like unlock it or whatever.
Yeah, it basically like activates their ability to use it.
Yeah, so it's each person has their own abilities, and everyone can equip whatever trinket, but what color you have, because each move is color coded. So whatever color you have will be the actual move that you learn. So it's a little complicated. It makes so much sense. It's super easy to pick up once you're in the game, but it's a little complicated to try and explain, but it's very cool.
Yeah, I did a lot of just like, I'm just going to put this here because it looks like I should.
And you can do things to like level them up and make them stronger and things like that. And it's pretty basic, but pretty cool at the same time. I really enjoyed the trinket system. There's also right around your first rest stop, they tutorialize how items work in the game. But I had a healing spell from one of my trinkets, so I never used an item. I have no idea how the system works.
Yeah, in story mode you heal after every battle, so I was like,
yeah, it's a non-standard system because they brought in the tutorial. It's like, oh, you use it. You can pause time at any time and use it from the menu, and you only can have so many slots, and they can do. It does something. I just never had to use it, so I don't personally know.
Yeah.
At the first rest stop, you formally introduce yourself to Valentine and vice versa, and you get back on the road. Along the way, in the visual novel style conversations, it will let you respond for Sam every now and then. And I'm pretty certain that the choices don't matter, and they're just flavor. If they do matter, it'll be like for something way down the line, like affinity points or something. In the short term, it might be that some conversations are longer, which would affect where you're driving to. But I don't know, because it's
to me like it was just flavor, and there's a lot of options. I really like that one of the options is just called Sam-like. So if you want to get an idea for her, like her usual personality, you can go with those, or you can go with like a dramatic option, or a flustered option, and that sort of thing.
Or if you're like me, you can pick the horny answer every single time.
Yes, me too. And they were all great.
They're all fantastic. So the game basically trucks along like this for the whole chapter. You have your choice of lane to take for random battles or to rest at a rest stop, and sometimes all three lanes will time up with the dialogue for 4 story battles. So they'll be like talking about yada yada, and like, oh my god, what the fuck is that? And then it'll be like, press A to go into a battle, and it's every single lane is happening right there, which is pretty cool. It's just vibes. So partway through the chapter, they introduce the fuel mechanic. So you'll need to stop at rest stops to refuel your car to be able to keep going.
I like the little conversation that Sam and Valentine have about where Valentine is explaining about fuel points, and they use the symbol for it and to speak it out loud, and Sam's like, how are you pronouncing that?
Yeah. So refueling your car costs money, and you get money by fighting battles. So you need to balance, I don't have a lot of health, so I don't want to do this battle, but I need to do this battle because I have low fuel points. So I need to do the battle so I can get fuel points, so I can buy some fuel, et cetera, and get through it.
Each one of them tells you how many fuel points you'll get for winning as well, so that you can kind of determine, like, well, this one says it's got 3 level 3 enemies, but it's only going to give me 20 fuel points, whereas this one that's got a couple of level 2s is going to give me like 35 fuel points. So you kind of have to determine whether you need the experience more or the fuel points.
Mm-hmm. And so on normal, at the end of chapter 1, it is not a very tight resource at all. I think I kind of maybe got within like 50 points of running out of gas once type thing. It's not very hard, but so I didn't need to stress about it yet. But maybe later in the game and maybe on hard, there'll be a time where you have to choose between a hard fight that you're underprepared for, a rest stop you can't afford, or pressing on and hoping for the best, and some balance between the two.
Yeah.
Around this time, they also mentioned that the Machine Devil is, quote, something like 3,000 miles away from here. And a odometer pops up on your UI. That's your trip meter to show how far you've come and approximately how far away you are from the end of the game. By the end of this chapter, we only had around 600 miles. So there's approximately 5 times more game available than what we played today.
Yeah.
Because this game is a visual novel style game and most of the gameplay is reading the cute story, and the story is not a series of things that happen, it is a series of conversations. I don't want to go too far into the stuff along the way, but after about an hour of reading and getting to know these characters, picking up on some lore, there's a lot of stuff about Grace being the chosen one and what that has meant for her and stuff like that. And
she kind of forced her way into being the chosen one, which is great. I love it. I love that it's the whole premise is she went and stole the sword of fate
so that she could be the chosen one.
Yeah.
She chose to be the chosen one.
Yeah. She took fate into her own hands.
Yeah. Eventually, though, you come up across a mighty enemy, which has its own own box on the road. It's like you can't skip it.
Yeah, is that that's not the mini boss or the boss that comes up, right? We're not to there yet.
No, I was just going ahead and skip to the end, to the big boss. So you get into a super special boss battle that Sam starts by saying like, okay, what the fuck?
Yeah. It's great. I actually took a screenshot of the warning message that you get. Because boy, it's big. It says a manifestation of 0.1% of the Machine Devil's power, fighting with a fearsome strength of angel blood. Your toughest battle yet lies ahead of you. Are you prepared to embrace your heroic destiny and stand up against this evil, even if it costs your life?
Press A.
yeah. Press confirm or change lane.
So you go into a special boss battle.
Also, they yell "fuck you" back and forth, and therefore the monster's name is "fuck you."
That's so good.
It's great.
So the monster is huge, like 4 times bigger than everything you've seen so far, and it has an angel strapped to its chest.
Yes.
The angel speaks in the Final Fantasy Game Boy Advance font. Everyone else speaks in a just generic pixel font. But because she speaks in super fancy, you can tell that she's magic.
Yeah, she's built different.
So she tells us that she's not with the Divine Order, the angels that have been hounding us the whole game. So we're like, okay, cool, we'll save you. That's fine. So we kill the crap out of the monster using all of our newfound skills, and we save the angel. The boss fight, I remember being kind of hard, but not hard enough to make me die on it.
Yeah, it had an interesting mechanic where every now and then the boss would go completely invisible, and what you had to do was target the angel and attack her, and then her blood ends up splattering onto the monster, which makes it visible to you again, which is brutal and metal as fuck. I loved it. Yeah. I thought it was really cool.
Yeah, and Angela, as we find out her name is totally cool with it.
Yeah, she's into that.
Yeah.
Which after you talked about the history of the developer before Get in the Car Loser, I was like, okay, that tracks.
Yeah. So after we kill the monster and save the angel. We sit down at a diner to have a long conversation with Angela, and we figure out more about our heroes and the sort of fate. It goes on for a while, and the whole time they're trying to decide what they want to eat. And Angela is like, well, I don't require sustenance because I'm an angel. And the guy's like, no, but you have to try this milkshake. And she's like, okay, fine, whatever. She tries the milkshake. He's like, I want to join you on your quest.
She gets brain freeze from it. She drinks it too fast, which is really funny.
Yeah. So Grace is like, okay, you can join us, but only if you think that what we're doing is the right thing, not because you owe us, because you don't. Like, we're the heroes. Of course we were going to save you no matter what. You don't owe us anything, but if you want to join the team, you can. And she's like, of course I want to join the team and help stop all the stuff and drink more milkshakes.
Yeah,
so
she's defying the status quo of the rest of the angels, and I think that's fucking badass.
Yeah. So from there, we head off into Act 2, which is a good enough stopping spot for the JRPG canon. We've gone through the main gameplay loop. Is like you get there in the first 5 minutes. This game has a very short gameplay loop, but stretching it out to more stuff after we get the fourth party member. We now have all 4 face buttons. We have all 4 permutations of the 2 different colors. Combat gets really cool and interesting. Now, this is definitely a good stopping spot. And I didn't cover everything because, like, in like Final Fantasy VI or whatever, we would want to get through a couple of towns, maybe get a couple party members, get the vibe of how that game works. You get the vibe of how this game works in your second random battle, basically. So this one has we played a lot more than the one gameplay loop because it was really good and we didn't want to stop. So let's listen to some more of the smooth jazz sounds of Get in the Car Loser, and then we'll talk about our conclusions and final thoughts and those sorts of things. So the number one takeaway I have for this game is it is so well written. It's very jokey and chill and takes the piss out of a lot of things, but it doesn't take the piss out of itself in the way that a lot of jokey RPGs do. It's like
it didn't give me Cosmic Star Heroine vibes.
I was about to bring up Cosmic Star Heroine. It doesn't, like, Cosmic Star Heroine and a lot of games that are very similar to it are like, isn't it so weird we're making an RPG? That's so stupid. Why would anyone want to do that? Look at all of these things about RPGs. Those are going to be the butts of our jokes. And therefore we are going to be the butt of our own joke so that it's okay if we're not good at this. This game does not do that. It takes the piss out of, like, tropes that are common in fantasy. They're also common in RPGs, but it's not ever making fun of itself. It's always making fun of, like, concepts and stuff. And most of the time those concepts are like white men and not even it's like,
which rightfully should have the piss taken out. Yes. Saying that is 2 white men. Yes.
It takes the piss out of white men and religion more than it does, like, I hope we don't have a random battle right here. What's a random battle? It's the thing when the screen flashes. Like, it's not ever doing anything like that. It's just, it's loosey-goosey and characterful, and it's in a way that a lot of visual novels have gotten good at.
I wrote that the game is very queer, and the characters have what I would consider pretty realistic dialogue. I'm not saying I talk like that, but I definitely fucking talk like that. Like they drop so many F-bombs. Like they talk like I do, and it's just like half of it is cursing, and they're being very realistic. And I think that the writer did a very good job with making them sound like real people would talk.
Mm-hmm. I also really love, like, the lore of this game is very thought out and very important and has all of these things, but our Luke Skywalker is not someone who wants to be a Jedi and is paying attention and taking notes. Our Luke Skywalker are three lesbians who don't actually give a shit. They just know that they have to go and stop the evil. So they're just kind of like, yeah, like the Divine Order, of course, is making the Machine Devil do this and that and the other, but like, whatever. Ooh, let's stop and get ice cream. And it's just very, it's very...
It's very human.
And it's a very unique way to deliver an epic fantasy story is through three people who don't like. They care that they're in it because they know that they're the chosen one. They know that they got to do it, but it's like this is like the 15th time through the cycle. They know it's going to happen like every 1,000 years. They knew about the Sword of Fate. They knew about the Divine Order. Like there's none of the like, oh, in the 1,000 years, everything is fated to myth. So no one knows that it's happening. Like, they know it's happening. They just got to go do it. So they got in their car and they're going to go do it. And it's just, that tone is just cool.
It's really great. I also want to say, in a world where TERFs are gaining far more traction, and for those of you who are not familiar with the terminology, TERF stands for Trans Exclusionary Radical Feminists. They're not feminists, by the way. They're just awful. They're just awful people who claim to be on the left, but are totally happy to get in bed with the right if it means eradicating transgender people. And where they're gaining more traction, they're becoming more vocal, they're getting more screen time and saying that, trans women can't be lesbians because they're not really women, et cetera, et cetera. I love how trans inclusionary this game is, because Sam is a trans woman and Valentine is non-binary. We don't know if Valentine is AMAB or AFAB.
Because it's not our fucking business.
Yeah, exactly. I had no desire to go seeking out that information. I'm like, well, that could be a binder or it could be a cute little crop top. I don't care. They're fucking hot. And I love them. And if the creator of the game is saying that they're a lesbian, they're a lesbian. I'm going with that, and like, it's not gatekeepy about its terminology. And it's very, very refreshing. And it makes me, as a trans person who once identified as a lesbian, feel really good.
You would think that like smarmy lesbian would not be enough room to make 4 completely different characters.
And yet here we are. Yeah.
Here we are. And they all stick out like it in really good ways. And the characterization is just fantastic. I also really like how this game makes, like I mentioned earlier, it has a lot of interesting choices to make, but all of them are optional. Even when you're not on the story difficulty level, you can just keep pressing A to read the visual novel parts and not engage with the lane switching. And you can just take the battles and the rest stops as they come. When you get to the battles, you can just mash your face buttons, press the bumper, mash your face buttons, press the bumper.
That's pretty much what I did.
Press the bumper, mash the A button to do your special move. Do the same thing over and over again. And if you have a healing spell as part of those, it auto targets the person with the lowest HP. So you literally can just mash your way through the battles, and
love it.
You'd have a pretty decent time playing the game as a, like, obviously because they put the story version on there. Like, it's a fairly good just visual novel as well as everything, but they made the choices that you can make really, really interesting. And so it's like a very low skill floor, high skill ceiling sort of thing, where it's like, oh, if you enjoy the RPG parts of it, you'll get a lot out of it, to be like, oh, I want to skip this fight so I can do the harder one, and I want to get more fuel points, or I want to get more experience, or I want to do this, or I want to do that, and figure out the best way to get through it. But an okay way to get through it is to just press A a lot, and then press all the face buttons, and then the bumper, and then the face buttons, and then the bumper. Yeah. That's okay too. And I like that idea. Like, we've covered Dragon Quest and Pokemon, and both of those are the same way. Facing Brock with a Charmander that is really, really hard. And so if you do a lot of grinding, and you get your team built correctly, and you go and then you take on Brock and you do it the hard way and you win, that's really cool. But also, if you just have a Bulbasaur and you just have been pressing an A to win as a Bulbasaur the whole time so far, and you beat Brock and you beat Misty, and you never got any other Pokemon because you didn't need to, because Bulbasaur is overpowered as fuck in Red, Blue, and Yellow. That's cool and fine too. And both of those are good ways to play Pokemon. And you can, like, being able to beat a Pokemon game versus winning a single battle on Smogon. I don't even know if Smogon is where the cool kids are at anymore.
I believe it still is, actually. Yes. Yeah,
but some random competitive battle, you will get the floor wiped in any competitive battle, but it's pretty easy to beat the game. And that's kind of the same thing here, where it's like, yeah, you can mash through the visual novel, you can mash through the battles, but it's also kind of really fun to be like, oh, I'm going to change the timing of my thing so I can get 2 heals off. Like, I'll start with the heal, do the other 3 just right, so I can get a second heal without wasting too much time to get through my level 2s to have extra stuff or whatever. Like, you can.
Yeah. You can really choose the difficulty in a lot of different ways other than just starting the game.
Yeah, and it's really cool. All in all, this game is super fantastic. In basically the year that it's been since you've played it, there's now 2 expansion story specific really? DLCs, and I want to get both of them. I want to beat the game and play both DLCs. One of them
I need to do that too.
I think one of them is a beach episode and one of them is a holidays episode, but I don't have it open in front of me to fact check. But
you know what? Comrade Bubbles did mention something about if you get this specific DLC, then you get beach outfits for them. So yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah, but yeah, I want to get both of them. Want to beat this game. It's definitely a very chill pick up and play for a little bit game, which is something that I need to just have like by default, this is what I'm going to have when I'm just like waiting around and not doing something. It's Steam Deck verified, and it plays really, really good on the Steam Deck.
It was beautiful on Steam Deck.
Yeah, and so that's where I played it. I played it earlier today a little to remind myself about the battle system and stuff. On the keyboard, you use ZXAS as your face buttons, and then Q and W as your like menu operators of just left and right. When you're doing a face down RPG thing, you use the arrow keys, but like in battle, you use QW and ZXAS, which is a very odd thing, but it works pretty well because everything's close together. But yeah, this game is really good. I think that everyone should play it. If you, especially because of all of the things talked about, how it's like taking the piss out of tropes, but taking them seriously at the same time. If you're a fan of RPGs, as you probably are at this point of why would you start on this episode of the RPG Book Club if you're not? But the people who like our stuff would are probably gay. Like,
yes.
when people tell me that like trans people are like 0.1%, I'm like, bullshit, because in our history of the podcast, besides me, there have been 5 hosts. 3 of them are trans, and the other 2 are gay men. So
yeah, there's definitely more of us out there than people realize. And you know what?
Most of them are our listeners.
Oh, well, I was going to say, if the world was a safer place, then there could be more of us because we would feel safer being ourselves.
Absolutely.
There's not more of us because there's some awful trans agenda that's trying to make children trans. It's that, some of us don't have the luxury of being able to come out.
Yeah. And I love, as an aside, since we got real instead of the punchline of the joke.
Sorry about that.
The punchline being every trans listens to RPG Book Club.
Yeah.
But instead of that punchline, I love like what you said is 100% or 100% true. And my whole life, I've had a lot of trans friends, and it means a lot to me that like as a person, as a podcast, as a Discord, as a community, we're one of the safe places. So yeah, we get to see the real number of trans people, and people get to do it. But in my notes earlier today, I had to change notes because Eliza didn't go by Eliza when they commissioned this episode, so I had to
congratulations.
So I had to update my jokey intro to make it all make sense and everything, and it just I hope,
Eliza, I'm really proud of you. I'm really happy for you and excited. I don't know if I know you personally. I don't know if we've ever spoken through the RPG Book Club, but that's really, really cool. I'm just super stoked for you, and best of luck in second puberty.
But yeah, so I'm glad that this is the first wildcard game we get to cover on the podcast version of JRPG Canon. When this was all blog posts, I did almost only wildcard games because those are the things that I was playing at the time, and I wanted to write about them while I was working for Waymo. But here on the podcast version, we have a huge amount of these belong in something called the JRPG Canon, and a large another large number of I just want to talk about Robopon games. So shout out to everyone who has commissioned episodes. I think only Final Fantasy and Dragon Quest that we've done so far haven't been commissioned, and it's because I felt I had to do those before we got around to anything else. So there's just been a huge support of people commissioning these episodes, mostly from Eliza and CW. Eliza and CW have done most of these, but
that's awesome. Thank you for the support.
Yes. So if you liked this episode being a weird definition of RPG, especially of the JRPG canon, but if you like the weird stuff, we got a lot of weird stuff. We got a lot of normal stuff coming along. One of the upcoming ones. I'm going to get the Game Professor on to cover Jimmy and the Pulsating Mass, which is equally a weird pixel art Game Boy Advance throwback ass game.
I've heard of that one. I'm not familiar with it though.
Yeah, so definitely stick around. If you would like to sponsor a JRPG Canon episode yourself, you can do so on the web at www.rpgbook.club, where you just can pay $20 and you can tell us what to play. You don't have to try and some people who've done it have been like, oh, I want you to play blah, 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 but the $20 won't cover 2 copies of the game. Screw that. Like if you want us to cover Persona 5 Royal and we have to pay $70 each to cover it, that's fine. I want this is more of a help us offset these costs and whatever, and I just want to talk about the sort of things that you guys want to talk about. I want to play the greats. I want to play the games that you think are great. This is me in dialogue with you guys about I can't believe I just said you guys with y'all. I've been out of Texas for too long. I just want to dialogue with y'all about the games that we like. So it should be an RPG, but the definition of RPG and how canon they are is completely up to you.
Yeah, it's pretty loose.
For one of our commissioned main series episodes, those we'll play whatever the fuck you want us to. It doesn't even have to be an RPG. Somebody covered SpongeBob Battle for Bikini Bottom.
Oh yeah.
Which is definitely not the vibe for JRPG Canon.
That is not J or RPG.
No. But one of our upcoming episodes, more spoilers, is going to be for Zork, which is only if you squint J or RPG. So yeah, if you have any ideas of things you'd like us to talk about where it fits in the grand overture of this half of gaming, because basically I talked about it in one of the old blog posts. I don't even know if those are still accessible from the website. I haven't been to the website in a long time. But in one of them, it was my answer to Is Zelda an RPG, which was just a clickbaity title for me to get to my actual thing that every game is either Space Invaders or Zork. And and those are the only two genres of
the two genders.
Of games. Yeah, the
Space Invaders and Zork.
And so the games that are or to quote my current favorite tabletop RPG, every game is a balance between lasers and feelings.
Yeah, and, that's true.
And so the games that we're covering on the JRPG Canon are the feelings games and not necessarily the lasers games. So so if there's a feelings game that you want us to talk about, or a lasers game that looks like a feelings game for an action RPG or something, you can go and commission one at our website. Besides commissioning an episode, you can also donate monthly to join one of 3 tiers. The Gadabout tier is for everyone who pays $1 or more a month. This will get you access to our Book Club no Kaseki episodes a month before everyone else, and also lets you vote on our polls whenever they go live. The Warrior tier is for everyone who pays $5 or more a month, and they will also get their name shouted out at the end of every episode, much like this. Shoutouts to Floris, Kaldron, Freddie Rodriguez, Aaron524, Vimk, Jfro Prime, and Doho.
You all rock.
And then finally, we have the Luminary tier, which is everyone who loves us so much that they pay us $20 or more a month. And they also get a 1-sentence shout out to either shout out a social or to just make me say whatever they want. So Shout outs to Eliza Tantavi, who wants you to check out critical-distance.com, which is an aggregator for games criticism and journalism. And also a shout out to Carr, who is a dentist. So his shout out is not for his Twitch stream, but for your own mouth. And he says to brush your teeth twice a day, most importantly, the time right before you go to bed. For the JRPG Canon, I have been Sam Allman.
I've been Elias Sailor Eli Warren.
Go play some games.
Yeah. Toodaloo.
Bye.